Welcome back to the Roundtable. I'm AwestruckVox, and Helluva Boss has absolutely violated all of our emotions this weekend. Blitz and Stolas have finally, officially split up. On the full moon! That's supposed to be their night! Stolas has caught out their arrangement, which leads to Blitz tearing the prince a new one, although not in the way he expected. But to the surprise of many, most of this episode was actually dedicated to the D.H.O.R.K.S and Cherubs for some reason. While they definitely hogged the screen time in this episode, they chose to intertwine these two plot points for a reason. That reason being Blitz's newly gifted Asmodean Crystal and the D.H.O.R.K.S portal to hell. Since all the other cartoon channels have their sights set on the Stolas breakup, I want to focus on what I think the story is building up to with the D.H.O.R.K.S and Cherubs, including the organization's inevitable invasion upon Hell, and also try and tackle the question, when does Helluva Boss take place relative to Hasbin Hotel? Cause the Exorcist mention kinda has me scratching my head. With all that said, let's dive in, after you like and subscribe, please. So yeah, as of this episode, Stolas and Blitz are donezo, temporarily. We know there's plenty of shenanigans in store for them that'll probably end with them talking things out like adults. Something that this episode barely gave them time to do, as most of it is dedicated to the newly formed alliance between the Cherubs and the D.H.O.R.K.S. Which gives us insight on both parties and the impending invasion that's coming to Hell. When it comes to the Cherubs, their mission to get back into heaven has clearly sent Cletus and Keeney on a downward spiral. One that's going to bar them from re-entry. These goobers are scamming random civilians and poorly rationalizing it with the notion that they're presenting humans the opportunity to perform good deeds so that they too can get into heaven. But it's pretty clear that's bullshit that even they aren't buying into. As it stands, Colin is the only one who has a real shot at getting back into heaven. He hasn't had his mind broken the same way Cletus and Keeney has. He's constantly speaking up about their moral wrongdoings and doesn't possess the same bloodlust they sport, evident by all three of their reactions to the D.H.O.R.K.'s proposition of hunting down Blitz. At this rate, I'm suspecting that either something really fucked up is going to happen to Colin that completely warps his moral code and makes him even more deranged than Cletus and Keeney are currently, or they'll go down a route that's a bit more predictable and have him defect from the Cherubs entirely. Maybe he'll end up saving Blitz and the rest of them from his co-workers down the road, which could ironically get him back into heaven. I was half expecting the Cherubs to get stranded in hell by the end of this episode, their story getting carried over to Hasbin Hotel, where they reluctantly check in and let Charlie help rehabilitate themselves so they can be granted back into heaven, as that's currently the only known method of re-entry. Who knows? Maybe that could happen later. Could be with all of them, could be just with Colin. Wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being the last one standing. But speaking of Hasbin Hotel, what the hell is the timeline for these two shows? When being interrogated by the D.H.O.R.K.S, Cletus and Keeney BS's the claim that they're exorcists waiting on them to rear their heads on Earth so that they can smite them. Which is a bit of a head scratcher since, at the very least, exterminations are kept top secret in heaven. Either the Cherubs have the 401 of what the Exorcists are really about, or eliminating demons on Earth is what the Exorcists were supposed to do before Adam pivoted to the exterminations. Double or, Helluva Boss takes place after Hasbin Hotel, so by this point, all of the Exorcist's dirty laundry has been aired out publicly. I think these are all viable answers, and maybe we'll get some clarification from Vivzy outside of the show. But for now, I'm not fully convinced that these shows are happening concurrently. As for what the D.H.O.R.K.S have been up to, they're definitely setting up an invasion. Ever since the events of Truth Seekers, where Imp absolutely dog-walked the agents at Compound X, no offense Luna, their funding has quadrupled and they've made sure to put those resources to good use. I just wish we had one more episode showcasing all of this instead of having this exposition dumped on us all at once, but fuck it, we ball! The D.H.O.R.K.S now have access to cutting-edge technology, and although it's not directly pointed out by any character, they're creating an army of superpowered popes to raise heaven on hell. They're even cooking them up in test tubes. It's kinda freaky. I could see this army facing off against the entire extended cast of Helluva Boss in a season or two, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get their hands on angelic ammunition before then. I can't wait to see that big battle in, 2027? They also have exosuits based on Blitz, Moxie, and Millie, color coordinated to suit the Cherubs. I love stylish coincidences. They also kind of remind me of those Halloween costumes from the first Fairly OddParents Halloween specials. You know, the Pumpkinators or whatever the hell they were called. There's also a Luna fursuit that Agent 1 seems to be fond of. Who knew he'd identify with half of the fandom so strongly? What I find really interesting is that the exoskeletons seem to have been a later addition, as they're not present in any of the visual development illustrations for the episode. The Cherubs were just spying on Blitz in their auraless attire. They probably wanted to up the ante and fit in an action sequence that wasn't just Moxie, Millie, and Luna humiliating them. I mean, they still do that, but at least here they have a fighting chance. The D.H.O.R.K.S even have a portal to hell now, but it doesn't have enough juice to create anything other than a small portal, which kinda reminds me of Amphibia Season 3, but let's connect the dots here. They need a power source to make a bigger portal. The Cherubs can now traverse between Earth and Hell. Blitz got a breakup gift in the form of a crystal that can conjure up portals. They're going to steal this thing, use it as a power source, and then the Sins will have to get involved. Because as Stolas says, this crystal puts Blitz under Asmodeus' jurisdiction. God, that's going to slap so hard in 2044. Comment down below what you think is going to happen with the Cherubs and D.H.O.R.K.S, and keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Instagram at AwestruckVox and at Roundtable Vids. If you enjoyed this video, please sure to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya!